Hello guys. So today I am going to share the information about the Nebuchadnezzar experiment. So the story of our being termed history is filled with the several fascinating accounts and lessons as we move on forward. We begin with the first ever scientific experiment known to the mankind, published as the biblical description and vaguely resembling modern clinical trials performed by the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar. In the book Daniel 1, we come across a scientist who was neither a medical practitioner or nor a researcher of any sort, but in fact a renowned military leader and the most powerful ruler of his time. While in the command of the Babylon, which was between the 605 BC to 562 BC, his one day demanded his subject to consume only meat and wine. Those who adhered to command would eventually become the control group of the earliest known as the investigation. But you may wonder, why did he want to implement this rule in the first place? Our scientists believe that the diet of only meat and alcohol would result in the healthy, vigorous, and physical condition of the subject. So, however, he came across some outlaws, those who objected to Islam. These individuals were inclined towards a herbivorous diet rather than following the newly instated rule of the land. In those times, going against the will of their commander might have, in all likelihood, led to their imprisonment, execution, or the worst torture. But our royal scientist was unexpectedly integrated by the idea. He was curious to see whether the healthiness of the person depends based on the type of food they consume, and so appears this study group. He grants the maverick the right to go on the diet consisting of the legumes and the water, but only for the period of 10 days. He ordered that at the end of this period, the health and the physical powerness of the vegetarian should be examined and compared to that of the meat-eating followers. Thereby, we come across the outcome of the King Nebuchadnezzar's study. So, let us discuss about the scurvy trial. So, James Lind is remembered as the man who helped to conquer a killer disease. This reported experiment on board a naval ship in 1747 showed that the oranges and the lemons were a cure for the scurvy. But why did the Royal Navy, which celebrates the centenary of the Lynch birth on the 4th October 2016, takes nearly half a century to act on this finding? For 18th century, sailor disease during long sea voyages was more often dangerous than the enemy action. One British expedition to raid Spanish holding in the Pacific Ocean in the 1714 to lose 1300 of the original complement of 2000 men to illness. The commander George Anson said almost the whole crew was afflicted by the symptom of including a luxuriancy of the furious flesh, uh, putrid gums, and the most dreadful terrors. Many sailors suffered a strange dejection of the spirits and lay immobile, while others who resolved to get out of their hammock have died before they could have well reached the deck. So the explorer Captain Cook recommended malt and the sauerkraut, while others swore by the elixir of the vitriol, bloodletting, and applying a piece of turf to the patient's mouth to counter the bad qualities of the sea air. Among the array of the imaginative remedies were some that proved effective. Sailors who ate the sheep, rats, and inadvertently protecting themselves as the animal synthesizes its own vitamin C. Citrus fruit, another source of the vitamin C, had already been suggested as a cure for some. The explorer Sir Richard Hawkins recorded in the 1622 that sour lemons and oranges were most fruitful. I wish that that some learned man would write of it. More than a century later, a learned man fulfilled that wish with the text which earned him a place in the scientific history. James Lind was the son of the Edinburgh merchant and became a medical apprentice in the city before joining the Royal Navy as a surgeon mate in the late 1730s. So his service allowed him to observe the effect of the scurvy at first hand. So he took 12 men suffering from the similar symptoms of the scurvy, divided them into the six pairs and treated them with the remedies suggested by the previous writer. A quart of the cider a day, 25 drops of the elixir of bitter oil 3 times a day, half pint of the sea water a day, a nutmeg sized paste of garlic, mustard seeds, horseradish, blossom of Peru, a gum 3 times a day, 2 spoonful of vinegar 3 times a day, 2 oranges and 1 lemon a day. By the end of the week, those the citrus food were well enough to nurse the others. So, Dr. Lind treatise of the scurvy contain a celebrated review of the literature on the disease, appeared in the 1753, by which time he was practicing physician in the Edinburgh. But he prided himself that he had conquered a condition which during the last war proved more destructive enemy and cut off more valuable lives than the united efforts of the French and the Spanish army. So this was the information. Thank you so much. I hope you liked it.